Hello, and welcome back to Monthly Model Railroad News at a Recap. This is a series where we talk about what's new from model railroad manufacturers. Without further ado, let's get started with ScaleTrains. First up from ScaleTrains, their HO Scale-840Cs were announced, of which the road numbers will be available in Chicago and Northwestern, Operation Lifesaver, Chicago and Northwestern Safety and Reliability, Canadian National 15 years, CSX Line 2 with blue cab roof, CSX Line 2 with white cab roof, CSX Conspicuity Stripes, Rock Island, Fairmax, Diablo Rotary Beacon, Fairmax, Diablo DXNOS, Rotary Beacon, Norfolk Southern Roof Mounted 8 HVAC, Union Pacific Lighting Stripe, and Union Pacific Strobe Light. Their HO scale Wabtec AC44C6Ms are now in stock. Their HO scale ET44ACs were announced. Their HO scale heavyweight passenger cars were announced. Their HO scale Gunderson 3250 hoppers are in stock. Their HO scale ES44ACs are still in stock. Their N scale Gevos are still on pre-order. And finally, they did a Somerville Steam Special. That's everything from ScaleTrains. Let's move on to Walthers. Moving on to Walthers, their HO scale heavyweight passenger cars were announced. Their HO scale Pullman Standard, Troop, and Bunk cars were announced. Their HO scale 34-foot war emergency hoppers were announced, of which the road numbers will be available in Ann Arbor, Illinois Central, Santa Fe, Louisville and Nashville, Chicago, Burlington and Quincy, and the Southern Railway. Their HO scale 66-foot heavy-duty four-truck flat cars were announced. Their HO scale 37-foot Greenville 100-ton two-bay hoppers were announced. Their HO scale gazebo kit was announced. Their HO scale turnout and crossing road bed pads were announced. They celebrated the 200th anniversary to the U.S. Their HO scale Milwaukee Road rib-sided cabooses are in stock. Their HO scale ET44ACs are still on pre-order, of which it will be available in Norfolk Southern, CSX, Union Pacific, BNSF, Canadian National, CPKC, American 250, and an undecorated model. And finally, their HO scale Viewliners are going to be in stock soon. That's everything from Walthers. Let's move on to Athearn. Moving on to Athearn, their HO scale SD70s were announced, of which it will be available in Union Pacific Abraham Lincoln, Union Pacific We Are One, Union Pacific 2025 Scheme, Union Pacific Prime for Grime, EMDX Leasing, BNSF H2, BNSF H4, Lake States Railway, American 250, Lake State Railway Perry Marquette Heritage Unit, Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton, and Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range. Their HO scale GP7s and GP9s were announced, of which it will be available in Santa Fe Kodachrome, Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, Prime for Grime, BNSF H2, Chicago and Northwestern, and Morristown and Erie. Their HO scale GATC 20K tank cars were announced. The road numbers will be available in American 250, Cargill Black GATX, Emery White GATX Red Band, Quality Liquid Free Occidental Chemicals, and GATX White with Black Band. Their HO scale and N-scale UTC 13K tank cars were announced. Their HO scale FMC 5077 offset the Hubble door box cars were announced. Their HO scale 50-foot gondola was announced. The road numbers will be available in Delaware and Hudson, Conrail, Lehigh Valley, Norfolk Southern, CSX, Penn Central, Southern Pacific, Union Pacific, Santa Fe, and Burlington Northern. Their GP40-2s are now limited in stock. That's everything from Athearn. Let's move on to Rapido trains. Moving on to Rapido trains, their HO scale ski train was announced. Their HO scale, there has been an update on their HO scale GP40s. Their HO scale AAR 40-foot boxcars were announced. Their HO scale H21 bay hoppers were announced. Their HO scale steam generators and head-end power cars were announced. Their HO scale tempo passenger cars were announced. Their HO scale TTC Gloucester cars are in stock. Their HO scale and end scale SD70 Max are still on pre-order. The road numbers will be available in Metro American 250, Virginia and Ohio, Texas and Great Northern, in both green and pink, Georgia Road, Alaska Railroad Anniversary Scheme, Burlington Northern, Executive Scheme, BNSF Executive with Swoosh Patch, BNSF H3, Colorado Pacific, CSX Line 3, CSX Line 3C, CSX We Are One, Kansas City Southern Bell, Metra RTA Tribute Scheme, and Metra Light Blue and Black. They're doing American 250 locomotives in rolling stock in both HO scale and N scale. Their order deadline are their HO scale TTC Canadian light rails. Their HO scale B-class boxcars are on the order deadline. Their HO scale bi-level commuter cars are on the order deadline. Their HO scale Greenbrier coil cars are also on the order deadline. Their final order deadline are the HO scale Squamish cabooses. That's everything from Rapido trains. Let's move on to Broadway Limited. Moving on to Broadway Limited, their HO scale F7s were announced. The road numbers will be available in Chesapeake and Ohio, Norfolk Southern, Rock Island, and Western Maryland. Their HO scale F3s were announced. The road numbers will be available in Santa Fe, Central Railroad with New Jersey, CSX, and Spokane, Portland, and Seattle. Their N-scale Fox River feeder cars were announced, and their N-scale Union Pacific business car was announced. Their HO scale SD70 ACEs are still on pre-order. That's everything from Broadway Limited. Let's move on to Bachmann. Moving on to Bachmann, they did a mid-year announcement. Their HO scale BL2s are in stock. Their N-scale ACF 50-foot outside braced boxcar are in stock. Their HO scale and N-scale 56-foot center flow hoppers are in stock. Their HO scale Acela 2 train set is still in stock. Their HO scale 462 Pacifics are in stock. Yeah, that's everything from Bachmann. Let's move on to Class 1 Model Works. Moving on to Class 1 Model Works, their HO scale F39 flat cars are on pre-order. Their HO scale PS 3000 CD hoppers are on pre-order. Their HO scale spine cars are on pre-order. Their HO scale GB40s are on pre-order. That's everything from Class 1 Model Works. Let's move on to Atlas. Moving on to Atlas, their HO scale U30Cs were announced. Their HO scale SD35s were announced. Their HO scale FMH15 and H16-44s were announced. Their HO scale U33B and U36Bs were announced. Their HO scale 20700 gallon tank cars were announced. Their HO scale NSC 50-foot plug door boxcars were announced. Their HO scale Norfolk Southern Top Gun hoppers were announced. Their HO scale Pullman sleepers were announced. Their HO scale 36-foot reefers were announced. Their HO scale Frawl 4750 hoppers were announced. That's their HO scale 2-bay set hoppers were announced. Their HO scale 40-foot plug door boxcars announced. That's their HO scale mobile office containers were announced. That's everything from Atlas. Let's move on to tangent scale models. Moving on to tangent scale models, their HO scale jacketed 33,000 tank cars were announced. Their HO scale Bethlehem Steel 3350 rooftop quad hoppers, UFT quad hoppers are in stock. Their HO scale Roanoke Shops 4750 covered hoppers are in stock. That's everything from tangent scale models. Let's move on to Moloco. Moving on to Moloco, their HO scale 50-foot XM boxcars were announced. Their HO scale 50-foot ACF boxcars are in stock. Their HO scale PSCF boxcars are in stock. That's everything from Moloco. Let's move on to Kato USA. Moving on to Kato USA, their N scale GG1s were announced. Their HO scale V-liners are still in stock. Their N scale New York Central M497 was announced. That's everything from Kato USA. Let's move on to Bowser. Moving on to Bowser, their HO scale N9 cabooses were announced. The road numbers will be available in Penn Central, both late and early, Conrail, New York Central, Indiana Harbor Belt in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. Generic green, generic yellow, and black, and generic red. That's everything from Bowser. Let's move on to Prairie Shadows. Moving on to Prairie Shadows, their HO scale GP9Rs are on pre-order. Their HO scale 5150 hoppers on pre-order. Their HO scale Trinity 50-foot boxcars are in stock. Their HO scale PD 5000 hoppers are in stock. Their HO scale Point St. Charles cabooses are in stock. That's everything from Prairie Shadows. Let's move on to Lionel. Moving on to Lionel, they're doing American 250 locomotive and in stock in O scale. The road numbers will be available in Reading and Northern, Wheeling and Lake Erie, Canadian National, both 2026 and 1776, CPKC, Union Pacific, BNSF, 1776, 2026, and 250, Norfolk Southern in 1776, 2026, 250, 8096, 8118, and 8143. American Freedom Train plus Ox Water Tender and Flatbeds, USA and Wooden Coach, USA Atlantic and Wooden Coaches, Missouri Pacific in 1976 and 1776, Burlington Northern, American Coley Boxcar, Southern Pacific, Bicentennial 40-foot trailers, Milwaukee Road Coaches, Illinois Central Gulf, Conrail, a 282 Mikado, and many boxcars. They're doing Vision Line Big Boys and O scale. Their O scale Milwaukee Road S3s were announced. Their O scale Russian decapods were announced. Their O scale Atlantics were announced. Their O scale CSX Heritage units were announced. The road numbers will be available in Georgia Railroad, Louisville and Nashville, Monon, Perry Marquette, and Seaboard Airline. Their O scale Norfolk Southern Landmark Series units were announced. The road numbers will be available in Altoona, Chicago, Birmingham, and Alabama, plus a caboose. Their HO scale SD70 ACEs were announced. They're doing a Kansas City Southern D Mexico ES44AC. Their O scale BNSF LNG SD70 ACE freight set was announced. Their O scale U30Cs were announced. Their O scale Detroit Edison coal set train set was announced. Their O-scale SD40-2s were announced. Their O-scale GP18s were announced. Their O-scale S4s were announced. Their O-scale milk cars were announced. Their O-scale B air cars were announced. Their O-scale B bay window cabooses were announced. Their O-scale PS2 CD hoppers were announced. Their O-scale 50-foot tank cars were announced. Their O-scale 50-foot box cars were announced. Their O-scale insulated box cars were announced. Their O-scale woodside reefers were announced. Their O-scale rotary gondolas were announced. Their O-scale passenger diners were announced. Their O-scale passenger cars were announced. Their Line Chief 2.0 Mikados were announced. Their own names will be available in Southern Railway, New Haven, ATSF, and Rio Grande. Their O-scale motorized TMCCs were announced. Their O-scale post-war inspired freight set was announced. Their O-scale American Defense GP38 freight set was announced. Their O-scale 262 and 264s were announced. Their O-scale GP38s were announced. It will be available in BNSF and Canadian Pacific. Their O-scale Halloween locomotives were announced. Their O-scale Polar Express Big Boy and Ox Water Tender was announced. Their O-scale Christmas Big Boy and Ox Water Tender was announced. Their O-scale Atlantic and wooden coaches were announced. Their O-scale Christmas 264 was announced. Their O-scale Christmas dump car was announced. Their O-scale Elf on a Shelf box car was announced. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a good day.